coast. Those missiles may be the medium-range type, estimated to have a range of up to 2,500 miles, which not only puts our American troops inside South Korea well within range, but also U.S. military bases in Japan and Guam. That is the context of the danger here. Joining us now is Joseph Trevithick, an associate at globalsecurity.org, a public policy organization, and they are experts on this region. Joseph, thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So we've been seeing video come out of the region, and it's of South Korean soldiers staging big weapons at a military training field. What are they bracing for that could come across the border exactly from North Korea?
Well, I think the chances of a major North Korean offensive, rolling across the demilitarized zone in division strength is low, but what they could expect is an old-style Soviet sort of blitzkrieg attack, heavy armor penetration, an attempt to sort of use tanks and heavy artillery to move down into the south quickly and overpower the defenders.
You know, we watched today, and maybe people were surprised to hear this. I mean, when you're told to clear out your embassies, the Germans, the Swedish, the Russians, the British, the French embassies all saying, no, we will keep our doors open despite North Korea's warning to close. Is that a good idea?
I honestly think that the embassy staff probably have a better understanding of any imminent preemptive strike against North Korea than the North Koreans might have. And the North Koreans probably would use whether the embassies would evacuate as a barometer of any attack coming their way.
Now, what about these medium-sized missiles and the fact that they're being hidden someplace inside that country? What kind of good reconnaissance or information can we expect to have on that?
Well, this is something that we've been planning for as the United States for some time. The North Koreans are expert at hiding their weapons in caves and other bunker-type installations. So this is not something we are unprepared for. It's always difficult to locate these weapons, but we're no doubt using all the intelligence available to us to keep an eye on these movements.
Joseph, I just heard you use the word time, and I want to ask you about timeline here because, according to Kim Jong-un, they've been at war for 60 years since there was no official peace treaty. Well, not just according to him, there wasn't an official peace treaty put in place after the Korean War. So why now? And what is the timeline for potential violence coming from North Korea?
Well, the big issue here is that Kim Jong-un is a relative unknown both in the international community and likely within North Korea, and he has to assert himself as the Iron Will commander in the same vein as Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung. These are major heroes to live up to in North Korea, and he really has to put himself out there as a rightful successor. The timeline is unclear because we don't really necessarily know what's going on inside North Korea and what the leadership dynamics are. Whatever does happen, the United States and their South Korean allies are going to have to respond to in some fashion, and those responses, again, will definitely have to reflect whatever the North Koreans end up doing.
Let's talk a minute, if we can, about Japan and Guam and some of these other. It seems to almost be a trickle effect here. Wherever we have a base, wherever we're friends and they've taken a target, these other countries have to start to get ready for what might be coming their way. What does this do to kind of upset the balance of things?
Well, the United States has also been prepared for this and has made sure to coordinate with its allies over the years. The United States' presence in South Korea has dramatically reduced, but we've made sure to keep up with the South Korean military, which is itself a developed first-rate military. The Japanese military is also very highly developed. The United States is prepared to deploy large numbers of forces to the region rapidly, despite the fact that our on-the-ground posture is not necessarily as large as it once was.
I want to segue now because you and I had talked before and you had with our producers that you feel like there's a connection between what we're watching happen in North Korea and then learning today that Iran's nuclear program talks have stalled. What is the connection that you see?
Well, the connection goes back to the A.Q. Khan network, and A.Q. Khan, who was the leader of the Pakistani nuclear program, is known to have had connections with Iran and North Korea both. And the idea that the lead nuclear scientist in Pakistan was operating on his own without the knowledge of the government is extremely difficult to believe. And it also means then that what you're really looking at is one nuclear program operating in 3 locations.
Wow. China and Russia. China's been relatively quiet at this point, it seems like, Joseph. Russia has said specifically they want the United States and North Korea to kind of ratchet down their rhetoric. How do you see China playing a role?
China is going to be the most important actor here. China is one of North Korea's last remaining partners. I wouldn't necessarily say allies. China doesn't necessarily have allies so much as interests, and the North Koreans know this, and the Chinese are definitely willing to cooperate to a degree in whatever statement the North Koreans might be trying to make, but they're also not willing to see them bring down the entire region.
Great perspective on that. Joseph Trevithick, globalsecurity.org. We appreciate your time on this Saturday night. Thank you very much. We're going to keep it with China for just a second, because China is saying that 2 more people have contracted an unusual and deadly